Committee meeting of March 21st. This meeting is being recorded and there are members of the media present. If anyone would like to make a recording of this meeting, please contact the superintendent or a member of this committee. The first item on our agenda is the approval of minutes. We have one set of minutes to approve tonight. They are the minutes for the regular meeting of March 7th. Has everyone had an opportunity to read those minutes, and does anyone have any corrections? Seeing none, I have a motion from Rob, a second from Mike. All in favor of approving the minutes from March 7th? Opposed? Unanimous in favor?
I was not present for that meeting.
Okay, so we have one recusal. So we have 4 in favor, which is a quorum, and 1 recusal. The next item on our agenda is announcements, correspondence, and distributions. Did any members have any announcements? Mike?
I'd just like to say congratulations to Coach Manguso and his varsity basketball team
Absolutely.
for a phenomenal season. Great group of people, and they did a great job, so great.
Sure.
2 groups certainly echo Mike's comments, but also want to recognize the theater workshops for both the middle school as well as for the high school. Had an opportunity to go and see the productions for both programs, and wow, just what an unbelievable job they did. Never ceases to amaze me the talent that we have in Milford and the efforts and energy of all faculty and staff involved, and no shortage of effort put in by all the parents as well. So it's certainly want to thank all of them and really congratulate all the students and everyone involved.
Absolutely.
And very well attended. Boy, they're a
That's
hot ticket in town, I'm telling you. It was
that's what we
tough
like
to
to
get near
hear.
those, so it was good.
Any other member? I do have one announcement. We conducted our updated crisis training on Friday, and I'm sure anyone who pays attention to the news saw that. It was picked up by television, and actually the Associated Press picked it up as well. I was reading blog comments from the San Francisco Chronicle on the training that we had on last Friday. It went very, very, very well. I think a lot of our staff members didn't know what to expect when they arrived at the training. The company that handled it for us is a company called Synergy. All they do is this type of training. They did a tremendous, tremendous job. I was there. I was watching the progress of the training. Don Catrocchio, who's a member of our security committee subcommittee, he was there as well. He was participating as a teacher. So members of the school committee got to see both sides, both what it was like inside the lockdown room when we were doing these drills and what it was like actually conducting the lockdown drills on the outside. I have never, in my experience as a member of the team here at the Milford Schools, been more proud of our staff or of what we've done. It was a tremendous experience. I think most teachers took away very, very positive information from it. And I think it was something that, although there was some trepidation among our staff before it began, after it was over, they all thought it was a great experience. It was an empowering experience, and it sent them all back to their rooms to look at their rooms and to see what they can do to make them more secure in the event of a crisis. And I think now our schools are more prepared than ever in the unlikely event that some terrible crisis situation occurs. I'm extremely proud of our entire staff and of all of our teachers. It was a wonderful experience, and I want to thank them all for taking it seriously and for their participation in it. And it really is for the benefit of our school system. The next item on our agenda is our invitation to speak. I see we have someone to come and speak with us today. Great, come on up. Hi.
Most of you already know who I am. My name's Marcia Montgomery. I currently have 2 children in the district. I've sat at this table and addressed this committee as a school council representative for 3 different schools over the past 7 years. But tonight I come before you as a concerned parent. And I feel that there is a health concern in our buildings that isn't being addressed. It's a health concern that is typically so taboo that parents rarely want to step forward and talk about it in fear of how their child or their family will be judged. It's a health concern that while in and of itself may not carry any known diseases, it requires parents to expose our young children to pesticides to treat. And the concern I want to talk about is head lice. Last year, for the first time in 13 years of having a child in the public school, I discovered one of my children had lice. Not because the school sent home a notice that lice was in the classroom, but because the parent of a classmate in the classroom told me that her child had it, and I began to check my own child. Much to my dismay, I discovered that it's Milford's policy not to conduct head checks in the classrooms of identified cases, nor does Milford notify parents of lice in the classroom or the school. Who knew? For the last 11 years, I just thought Milford never had a lice problem. Even though Milford does still have a no-knit policy, I was told that it wasn't a productive use of the nurse's time to perform head checks to identify other children in the same classroom who may also have nits or lice. I was also told that Milford has one of the most strict policies in our surrounding areas. So I did some checking, and I spoke with public school nurses in Bellingham, Hopedale, Mendon, Franklin, and Hopkinton. Each of those districts not only do head checks in classrooms, they also have a standard letter that goes home to alert parents of the issue so that they may continue to check their children for signs of lice or nits. I also had several concerns about practices within the school that do nothing to help prevent the spread of lice from one child to another. After bringing my concerns and findings to the attention of Mr. Tremblay and Mr. Mazzucchelli last February, the district did place an informational PowerPoint on the district's webpage in October. And I was assured in an email from Mr. Tremblay on August 23rd, 2012, that in the event of a classroom outbreak, the class nurse will send notification home to all families in the affected classroom. As a matter of practice, we will notify families if there are 3 or more instances of head lice in a classroom. While these measures did not address my concern of lack of preventative practices, I at least felt that I had voiced my concerns and they were heard. Fast forward to this school year, and I am now in my 2nd round of lice. I just don't feel like I can remain silent about it any longer. While the PowerPoint was nice to get the information out, the school system has remained irresponsible in the efforts to prevent lice from spreading in the first place. I know that you can never prevent it from happening, ever, but nothing has changed. Students still share headphones and computers in library. Your own PowerPoint on your website identifies the sharing of hats, scarves, headgear, and combs as a secondary way of spreading lice. Yet during the school day, the children are told, here, put on these headphones that everyone else has already worn. It just doesn't make sense. In classrooms without lockers, jackets and hats are hung on hooks, and for 6 hours are touching the jackets hanging on each side of them. Jackets and hats are still all dumped into shared plastic totes at extended day. I understand that it's the parent's responsibility to check their child, and that's all well and good to identify a case. It would be even better if all parents actually did so, but obviously there's no way to enforce such a policy. But now that my daughter is free of them, I have to send her back into the environment where she most likely got them in the first place, and have to do so knowing that the school is doing nothing to prevent her from getting them again. I know that the district's view is that they can get it anywhere and will try to push the exposure to every other social interaction the children might have, but the fact remains they are in your building for 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, and the district is doing nothing to help prevent the spread within your own buildings. I understand that the American Academy of Pediatrics does not recommend schools follow a no-net policy. However, in the email communication from Mr. Tremblay on August 23rd, it was stated, although the AAP recommends that students remain in school, even with nits present, we have, as you know, taken a more firm stand and do not allow students to come to school until they are nit-free. Why is it only that after a child has been identified of having lice that they have to be nit-free, but the school does nothing to check for presence of nits or lice on other children within the same classroom? Do they not need to be nit-free too? While the school health manual from the Massachusetts Department of Health does not recommend children be excluded for nits, it does state, however, the school, in consideration with the school nurse and/or physician, should decide on the best policy for the school and the parents/guardians. It also states that if the school is having a recurrent problem with head lice, morning head checks should be conducted as students arrive at school. As far as notification guidelines, the state health manual says, when head lice occurs in a school, the school nurse and school physician should determine, based on their judgment, whether some or all of the parents and guardians or staff should be notified. The manual even provides a sample letter for the schools to use for such notification. My question to this committee is, Why, if surrounding districts have decided that it is the best policy to conduct head checks and notify parents, but Milford does not? Are the children and parents in Milford not as important as they are in other districts? Why is it that the schools can use the Alert Now system to notify us of book fairs, and the PTO can use it to announce for special events, but the school can't use it to notify parents of communicable illnesses in the classroom? It's almost like the district's stance on the issue is to push ownership of the problem onto the parents and turn a blind eye to what's happening in our schools. While I understand that lice carries no disease, I'm concerned about the chemicals I'm repeatedly exposing my child to because the school isn't taking precautionary measures to prevent the spread in your buildings. In my conversation yesterday with Mrs. Dagnes, I was told she did not know how many cases of lice there had been in the district, nor could she tell me how many cases had been in my child's specific school. How can I be confident that the school will notify families if there are 3 or more instances when the director of nursing isn't even aware of how much of a problem it is? As for why the district doesn't notify parents, the PowerPoint on your website says that some parents will treat their child as a precaution, keep their child out of school so they won't catch it in the classroom, or try to identify who had the lice so that they can isolate or bully them. As a parent, I can tell you, no parent wants to put pesticides on their child unless they absolutely have to. And most of us have to work, so keeping them home just in case is really not an option. And children at the K-2 level have no verbal filters. They will tell anybody anything, and it's usually the things you don't want them to say. However, having lice isolates a child on its own accord when they miss playdates or events because they're being treated for lice. If the district instead would partner with the parents, instead of deciding what information we do and do not need, and speculating as to what we may or may not do with such information, we could help end the cycle. I would like to say that I did speak with the ladies at Extended Day on Monday and showed them the nylon bags that I used at my after-school program that I ran at Brophy School in Framingham. I researched the bags online and gave them 2 options I found between the cost of $4 to $6 a piece, as well as the contact information of where to order them. I'm hopeful that this can be a viable solution to the plastic totes. I have also been offered the option for my daughter to use headphones that will be only for her use, which I am happy about. However, as the director of an early childhood education center, a school council member, and more importantly, a parent, I just don't feel like I can be like my child's protected and turn a blind eye to the problem that still exists for all the other children in our schools. I firmly believe that the policies and procedures within the district at this time are doing nothing to prevent the spread of lice within the buildings, and to continue carrying on with the status quo is negligent on the district's part. I am strongly urging the members of this committee to look into the problem, reach out to the stakeholders, and find out how we feel about the lack of communication or proactive preventative procedures, and find a way to help us work collaboratively with the schools to benefit all the children enrolled in our district. I would be more than happy to be a parent representative and help with this project in any capacity should the opportunity present itself. Thank you for your time and your consideration. That's all I have.
May I call you Marcia?
You may.
Marcia, I know how difficult it is to come and sit in front of us like this and read a statement, so thank you for coming in and speaking to us and bringing us this information. You know, we always encourage people to come in and tell us their concerns, and I really do appreciate it. And I know exactly what you're going through right now. My 18-month-old actually had lice 2 weeks ago. As a matter of fact, I have 3 plastic garbage bags in my basement of stuffed animals, and we're waiting for, unfortunately,
For your 2-week quarantine?
Yeah, exactly. So I know how frustrating and how hurtful it is, and I want to thank you for bringing this information. We will absolutely take it under advisement. We're very fortunate to have our chief health officer in the town on this board.
Yes, and I did reach out to Mr. Mazzucchelli last year. I do have, I just printed them off, and you can have them, the email communications with Mr. Tremblay and the supporting document, the supporting information that I found last year. It was in a letter that I sent to Mr. Mazzucchelli and Mr. Tremblay of what exactly the policies were in the other districts, who it was that I spoke to, and what building they were in.
Great.
I will say that I have been in contact with Mr. Tremblay, and he is aware of the issue, and he is aware that I was going to come and speak this evening.
Yeah, he did, actually, as a matter of fact, Mrs. Dagny's called me just moments before I came in, because she didn't know offhand the number of lice cases that we'd had so far in this school year. But she did have that number before this meeting, and to date it's been 25. So I know that that
Okay.
was information that you're interested in. If you wouldn't mind, and I'm not asking you to leave, you can stay for as long as you'd like, but when you're ready to go, if you wouldn't mind leaving that paperwork with Rob.
Okay.
And we'll make sure that we look over it all, and we'll use that and any other information that we can gather to make sure that we have the right policy for the district.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Great, thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is the Milford Public Schools 2013-2014 school calendar. And everyone should have a copy of this. I spoke with Bob briefly before this meeting. He's not able to join us tonight. And essentially, this calendar is much like it has been in the past. It was vetted. He made sure that we aligned it with other school districts' vacations. There shouldn't be too many surprises here. I looked it over myself very briefly. I didn't find any concerns with it, and I wasn't sure if any other member had anything that they wanted to discuss or be concerned about.
I think there's only 4 half-days in the calendar, which is terrific.
Right.
We were, at a plethora before, and that's much more effective. So I'm happy with the calendar.
Yeah.
I went through it month by month, and I think it's a good calendar.
Do you have anything to add, Kathy?
The only piece I'd like to report is the full-day professional day moved from January to October, which traditionally we had in January. And to cover the regional professional development piece, it worked better for all of the schools in the Blackstone Valley Collaborative to move that to October. Other than that, that is the only significant change.
The March half-day is now a full day.
In October, is that the 11th or the 14th?
The 11th.
Any other member have comments? This does require a vote. So if I could have a motion from Mike, second from Christine, to approve the Milford Public Schools calendar, academic year 2013-2014. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous in favor. The motion carries and the calendar is approved. The next item on our agenda is the capital improvement plan review.
I do have a report for you this evening. As you know, our major capital improvement is the Woodland School project, and therefore we have minimized or kept our request to an emergency need basis for facilities for the future. And having said that, I do want to report to the committee that we did earmark a 2018 possible replacement of the Stacy air handler. We're projecting that to be about $25,000, and Rob does not see that being an issue until 2018, but he did want to bring it to the committee's attention that it is weak, and therefore we have to keep an eye on it. So we're hoping to move that out to 2018.
Is that requiring repair now to keep functioning, or is it functioning now and it's going to be at the end of its life cycle in
Well,
2018?
Fortunately, we have 2 HVAC certified staff members, which would be Rob and Brian Laurendow. So we're very fortunate to have them, and they are making repairs on an as-needed basis. So having them on staff really is fortunate for us with that particular project. I do also want to bring to the committee's attention, Rob is looking to do in 2013 what would have been a capital improvement. He's been doing it in phases, for the high school auditorium, the seats. It's difficult to find them at this point, so therefore we're not able to find used seating to replace, so it's becoming more of an expense for us. But he is hoping to be able to fit that in this year's projects.
How would he phase those seats? I mean, you wouldn't have half old seats and half new seats in the auditorium, would you? Would that be the plan, or?
They actually blend, and we have been doing that ongoing as they completely break down. We have found replacements as far out as New York with a new renovation project, and brought them in and stored them and would replace them out. But the number of seats that we have right now is significantly low. So unless we could find something available to us, we're starting the process of grouping them. So you would have possibly the 1/3 be replaced, and then you move over to the middle section and then the other side. So we're trying to move it so that it's less of an impact to our budget. And he's working on it. The other item that I want to bring to the committee's possible attention would be the storage building for the school department vehicles and equipment. Rob is running short on area to supply or to store his vehicles. So he would be looking at that possibly in 2013 to fund out of his budget, but that's something that he's struggling with in terms of being able to accomplish. So he wanted to bring it to our attention.
Scott?
Just a quick question I have on that is, one, just how many vehicles are we talking about? And two, is there another department within the towns, I think about like the highway department garage that may have, has he explored those options of perhaps?
He has, along with the fire chief, who
Sure,
I
yes,
believe
okay.
has storage. So we've been cooperatively working with all those departments.
Okay.
But I think we're getting to the point where he's maxing out what he needs for space. So it's,
Presently
he-
started that.
oh, he has, I believe, a fire department building that's offline. He has materials there, as well as, I believe, some equipment at the highway department. But we, as a group in our buildings, just to store, such as snow blowers and the HVAC van and his truck, it's just difficult because there's no space in any of our buildings. And when we here at the high school, when we brought in the Brookside renovation for the building project, that was his storage, and it is now classrooms. And that's where he would do all of his repair work. So all of that has been eliminated from maintenance. So he's managing. So he just wanted to bring it to your attention that as these years progress, he is finding it more difficult.
Yes, sir.
For the time being, could he more or less speak with Scott Christofouli to see if they could use any, if he may not even have any space down there, but they have the mechanics there and whatnot. In essence, they are town vehicles such as owned by the school or highway department.
Yeah, I know Scott's very good to Rob. He makes a
Yeah.
lot of repairs for him on
Sure.
his vehicles, and when his plow is down, Scott is right there welding something for him. So they have a great working relationship, and if
Good.
Scott had anything that he could give them, he would. I have no doubt.
Thank you.
And the only other note that I want to make to school committee is just that we've attached the historical facility maintenance that has been going on for the past 5 or 6 years, that Rob himself has developed and maintained. And at the end of 2013, in terms of the facilities piece, he will again update us with everything that we were able to do with any possible utility leftover funding that we could phase in to maintenance. He will report that out when he returns next year.
And did you have a list of some of the improvements? I noticed the lockers in the C wing were replaced over vacation. Were there some other pieces that you could share that you can recall?
For 2013, I do believe we've done, in the summertime, a lot of the security concerns that we've had. Rob has really brought a lot of those to fruition, such as video cameras on the field. Let's see, we have the swipe cards. We've put in the fob system in a few of the areas in the high school, including the auditorium, which became very successful in keeping the kids out during the day. So the people that need to be in the auditorium can get there when they need to. As well as the panic buttons, Rob has funded out of his budget to the building so that we'll have that technology available to us. And anything further than that, he will put together in a list and bring back to us, that's very detailed in terms of maintenance. At this point, he can release more of his funds and do proactive projects in lieu of the reactive, and hold his money for the boilers in the winter and all of those items that we dealt with, Memorial specifically. So he'll have a comprehensive list at the end of the school year for the kids, for the committee.
That's great. And part of that, actually, Mike, part of that, one of the discussions that I had with the chief on Friday, and with regard to capital improvement, was the idea of putting fireman-type lockboxes outside of the exterior doors on our buildings that have keys to the doors, the interior doors, and a map of the school building, which I thought was just a terrific idea in case somebody entered that building. So that's something that obviously would go into this plan, but I thought that it might be good for your consideration at your next subcommittee meeting. Yes, sir.
Just to jump back to the storage, I'm sorry, I wanted to just ask a quick question about the storage of the vehicles and the equipment. You know, with the feasibility study of the Woodland School project going on, is it possible to look at incorporating into the plans of the existing or the new building space for storage, you know, that can be done maybe in a more cost-effective way?
That's a
You
great
know,
idea.
That's a great idea.
And then it's reimbursed, which
Right.
is fantastic. Good idea.
I mean, it isn't gonna provide any kind of immediate relief, but,
Right,
you know, gonna,
Absolutely.
a couple of years down the road.
Absolutely. I mean, as we use what used to be our garage space for other things now.
right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
That's a great idea. I'll bring it up in the next meeting. Any other members? The next item on our agenda is the report of the superintendent of schools, who isn't here. But this is the Woodland School Building update, so I can make the report. We had if you can recall, 2 weeks ago at our meeting, we had just met with the State Building Authority. And the State Building Authority voted, along with members of the community, on who the correct architect for our project would be. They overwhelmingly chose a particular architect for this project. The architect is actually, one of the reasons why they were chosen was because they were particularly well qualified to work in Milford. They had done in the past, they worked on the envelope of the Stacy School building. So they didn't do the renovation of that building, but they replaced windows and they replaced the roof on that building. They did a very, very good job for us. They've also done site work at the Woodland School in the past. So some of the work that they had applied towards that site work can be reused for the Woodland School project, whether it's a renovation or whether it's a new building. So the fact that they can reuse some of those funds factored in heavily to it. But I think a larger piece of it was they were one of the lowest cost per square foot architects among all the architects that work with the State Building Authority, which was very reassuring to all of us. We were all very, very confident about that. Once we had that determination made from the state authority, we then had to come back to our local building committee and present the architect to them, and then take a vote to see if we are prepared to offer a contract to this particular architect. We did. They came in, they gave a presentation for us, and they'll actually have another presentation for us as a committee very soon about how the project will move forward. Again, they were unanimously chosen to be the architects for our project. So we now have really the key group responsible for completing this feasibility study. And so we now have a timeline. I mean, I think we're plotted out 22 weeks before we start getting some preliminary designs where they can tell us what can be done with the sites. And I say sites because part of the state's mandate, the State Building Authority, is they require that we go and look at other spots in town to put this building. Now, we happen to think we have a pretty strong location for it right now. Students can walk, there's not too many busing considerations, so, but they'll make that determination for us. But we do feel very strongly that site is an appropriate site and will be the correct site moving forward for an elementary school. So that's.
Who determines the other site? Does the town offer up, say, we have this plot of land, we have this plot of land, is that how it works? Or
Yeah.
does the architect do a survey through a land survey and say, finally?
It's a little bit of both. So
Okay.
the building authority says, this is what we want your site to look at. And they bring it to the town, and the town says, well, we think these might match.
Okay.
And then they'll go and look at it. I mean, there aren't any sites really that we have available on town land that wouldn't require, every student to be bused, which is, that's too much of an expense. I mean, that's very challenging for us.
Yep.
So I would be surprised if there was a different site, but that's part of it too. So I didn't want to quote over that. But we're very confident in this company. We're very confident in these architects. We know that they're going to created a fantastic study for us, and we're glad that we're moving forward ahead of schedule. We've been ahead of schedule on this project since day one. We're staying ahead of schedule. It's to the credit of the school building committee, and we have a lot of veteran members of that committee who have put up many school buildings in this town in the past, and that's really been a great asset for us. So I'm extremely confident, and I know the project is going to move forward very quickly and very competently. Any members have any questions on the building? Okay. The next item on our agenda is the report of the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Human Resources.
For the committee's approval this evening, I have 2 warrants. The first warrant is in the amount of $197,041.01.
I have a motion from Paul, second from Christine. All in favor of approving the warrant? Opposed? Unanimous in favor, the motion carries.
The second warrant is in the amount of $20,282.94.
Motion from Rob, second from Scott. All in favor of approving the warrant? Opposed? Unanimous in favor, the motion carries.
The school committee does have a list of the latest hires and appointments from our previous meeting. No vote is required, it's for information only. I do have a course reimbursement request, and the total is $7,229.88. And that does require a vote, Mr. Chair.
Could I have a motion from Mike, second from Paul? All in favor of approving the course reimbursements? Opposed? Unanimous in favor, the motion carries.
There is a monthly update for the committee's review this evening. I'd like to report that the second half of the salaries for the teachers have been moved forward, and we are fully balanced in terms of our instructional salary lines as forecasted, and there are no concerns with the salary lines.
Perfect.
And in the, I do have a out-of-state field trip request from Christina Worth from the high school, who would like to take the approximately 10 to 12 children, grades 9 through 12, to compete, I guess is the right word, for the Junior State of America Club with, and she will be sharing transportation to Meridian, Connecticut with Ashland School to reduce the cost to the kids. And the cost for each student is approximately $130. And we do have a volunteer nurse to cover the field trip. It is on the weekend, but it does require the school committee's vote because it is going out of state.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
On that. Is it overnight? Looks like it's, is it?
Yes.
It looks like it is overnight for them. So will they be missing any school?
No, it's a Saturday to
That's what I just
Sunday.
don't know. Okay. Why are they doing it overnight? Because Meriden about an hour and 20 from here.
I think, if I remember correctly, there are evening activities, and they stay and they do troubleshooting, talking, and get ready for the debate in the morning. So they do some work together as a group and share the experience with all the other New England schools that will be participating.
I mean, it sounds like it's a fantastic opportunity for them. I get nervous anytime we send students out of state overnight. I want to make sure we're doing the right thing, especially when we're talking about a 90-minute trip. Meriden's actually not a bad drive, so it's, and not a nice town. It's a tough area. To be honest with you, it's a tough area.
There's an agenda down towards the bottom that does show some activities going on as late as 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
But I hear what
It's a
you're
little bit
saying.
of I'm pretty familiar with Meriden. It is it's not Milford, we'll put it that way. It can be a little bit, that would be my other concern. Any would just be some potential safety concerns.
Okay, I'll relay that.
They get in the hotel and they stay there.
They're very busy according to
Yeah.
this schedule,
Yeah.
this agenda.
I'm not familiar actually with the Junior State of America. I don't recall seeing requests like this before. Do you
This
have-
is new.
a little,
It's
could
a
you just
new
give us an
club.
update on about it?
Sure. It is, it's similar to a debate group, and they do thought talking amongst each one of the groups that are participating from all the area schools. I believe our kids have been participating in this as a club since 2010, but this is the first experience that they're going to have where they're going to go to the competition. So Christina has stepped up to be the advisor, and she feels the kids are ready to move to competition.
I think it sounds like a fantastic opportunity. Certainly sounds like they're going to be very busy for a couple days.
But I'll relay that, Scott, to Christina.
How many chaperones would go?
There will be one and a nurse. So Christina and the volunteer nurse, who's a mom.
Any further discussion? Motion from Paul, second from Rob. All in favor of approving the out-of-state field trip? Opposed? Unanimous in favor, the motion carries.
And the only other item is the gift. Patrick?
And so this gift that we have was actually, it was a grant. It was a grant that was written by Kirsten Raymond to Bob's Furniture Outreach. And the purpose of the gift were for laptops for fourth graders. And Kirsten won the grant, and we have a total gift of $500 to the Milford Schools. So we thank Kirsten, and we also thank Bob's for that very generous gift.
Thank you.
It does require a vote. Motion from Rob, second from Scott. A favor? All opposed? Unanimous in favor, the motion carries. The next item on our agenda are our subcommittee updates. Does the policy subcommittee have an update?
Working on logistics as we've both been traveling, but we will meet in the next couple of weeks before the next meeting.
Okay. And does the safety and security subcommittee have an update?
Meet next week, 25th.
Great. I do have one piece under new business. Next item on our agenda is new business, and I do have one piece under new business. Christine, Scott, and I met with the subcommittee of the Finance Committee last night, and we did present to them our budget. All of the town departments had been given instruction to keep their budget increases to a minimum of 2%. We actually spent a Saturday locked in Bob's office about 6 hours, going through the budget and working through what we need to fund a lot of our programs. And to continue to offer the services, we had come back with, we needed a 4% increase in our budget to do so. And so we needed to go and justify to the Finance Committee why that was necessary. And we've always worked very productively with the Finance Committee. They give us very good guidance. And last night was no exception. It turns out, and we helped the Finance Committee understand that almost 2% of our budget request was for special ed programs, special ed and ELL programs. And so those programs do a number of things. Special ed, most importantly, obviously we want all of our students from Milford to be educated in Milford. We don't want to send them to other schools, and there's a number of reasons for it, most importantly because they're our children and we want them here. Another part of that is if we can't fund the services that they need, then we will send them to a school that will fund those services. And so there's a significant expense to the town for doing that. So we would rather have the services here, we'd rather have our students stay home, and so 2% of our budget increase was to increase those services, and the Finance Committee, as they always have in the past, were unanimous in their support of funding all of those special education services for, so that was great. They did look at our other budget request, the remaining 2% budget increase. They had a few concerns, and they challenged us to come back and see if we could find some more savings, and we think we can do that. So we'll be scheduling a meeting of the budget committee, of the whole school committee, and a special budget meeting, and we'll see if we can find some more savings in our budget. I would like to go back to the Finance Committee in good faith and say, yes, we did find some places where we could cut some more, and I think it was a very productive meeting. It was a very positive meeting. I don't know, Scott and Christine, if you had any comments about it.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of follow up on what you're saying is as we would expect, the Finance Committee was certainly very understanding and very appropriately asked some tough questions around, all right, so help us understand where this money's being spent, and as they should be doing it, as they're charged with, as we are all charged with, making sure we can account for every penny, it's being spent in the right programs, and ultimately we're maximizing every dollar for the education of our kids, and that was exactly what we've been doing. And we were able to continue to partner very well with them. I think that we're gonna have to sharpen our pencil a little bit more and go back and make some, as is always the case, make some tough decisions. But I think we'll be in a good place.
I think so. Any other member? Does any other member have additional new business?
Mr. Chairman, just want to briefly touch upon what Masha said. And like I said, we do give her a lot of credit for coming up, and she does have some concerns. The only thing what I don't want to give the appearance, like I always like to, set the record straight. We do have 24, 25 cases of head lice for a district of 4,200 people, which is probably about maybe a little less than
1%,
than
yeah.
1%. So to give the appearance that we have a major problem, we really don't. We're either probably right on the average, what every other district has, or maybe a little lower to what every other district has. And usually a case where it does ask for letters being sent out to the entire classroom or the entire school once a head louse condition is found, that's usually a priority, or it's usually up to the individuals that are in charge of it to make that decision. There is really no right or wrong decision that one would make with that. There's no right way or wrong way when it comes to that. It's almost like the idea of should a class be homogeneous or heterogeneous. I mean, you can look at 1,000 studies, you're going to get 500 saying yes, 500 saying no.
Right.
And that's the same thing with this. I know the Department of Education really stresses not to send the letters because that would sometimes cause undue anxiety and undue stress. Also cause, where Marsha was talking about the exposure to pesticides when it comes to treating the lice. Sometimes a parent would get a letter and say, for preventative measures, I'm going to treat my child, and that's not necessary. So now that child's being exposed to the extra chemical when they really don't have to be. And like she was mentioning too, kids talk. And so soon, Jane Doe or Roger Jones is the one that started this louse infestation within our district, and that's how that comes about. So there's usually like a change where a lot of districts now are trying to get away from that and more or less have that 50-50 relationship with the parents and say, to inspect the child's head on a weekly basis at least. What I did because I had a meeting yesterday with the wellness policy that we have, and I did speak with Bob and Judy, and they did direct me to the website, and it's a very comprehensive website that
I used it myself with my daughter.
I mean, it's
Should be 2 weeks ago.
it's extraordinary, I think. I mean, it actually shows real pictures of the lice and how to go about the treatment. And it also answers some of the concerns where one of the questions says, why doesn't a letter go home to classmates if one case of lice is found in a class? And it actually says it, and often a child has, and usually it's more or less reacting instead of being proactive, because it's usually when they do find lice in someone's head, it's usually 4 to 6 weeks there between the knit stage and the life cycle of the louse. And it's usually 4 to 6 weeks there, so parents are usually reacting to it instead of being proactive. And the proactive way is to check, is to do the head checks. Today a school nurse isn't what it used to be when we were kids. You bang your head or you get a little cut, you get a little Band-Aid on your fingers and a kiss on the head and go back to the classroom. Today you're talking feeding tubes, you're talking diabetics, children who need various medications. It's a very more complicated profession today, the school nurse, than it was years back. So again, that's something that is usually a call made by the people in charge, such as the administration and the director of nursing, as well as input from her nurses. But again, I can see Marsha's point. And again, there is no right way and there's no wrong way. And again, for the record, what I wanted to know, there is no epidemic of a head lice in this school. Again, we're probably either average or well below what head lice incidents are in schools this size and this diverse. So again, I just wanted to get that out too, and I don't know what direction the school committee is going to take on that, but if any information that I could give, I will, and not only as a school committee member, but as a health officer. And again, we're told by the State Department of Health to be an advisory position and not an enforcement, because it is not a communicable disease. It's more of a nuisance in, than anything else. So we're more or less to advise, and any way I could help, I will.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
That's exactly the information that we needed, so
Okay, thanks.
that's great, thank you. Any other members with new business? Does any member bring old business? I don't see members of old business. We do have an executive session this evening. We will not be returning from executive session. The executive session is for the purpose of discussing a personnel matter, the discussion of which in public would violate that employee's privacy concerns. So, thank you very much, everyone. We will now go into executive session. We do need a roll call, a voice vote of assent to go into executive session. Yes?
Yes.
So we'll now go into executive session. Thank you all very much.